Yeah, dude, there's no cap. All right, Zach, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing amazing. Thank you so much for having me on, Mateo. Great to be a part of this. How are you doing?
Doing well, man. Of course, dude. Dude, our last conversation, man, you really you really piqued my interest. There was a lot of ideas you were throwing around, and then I know you have clients that you've shown some great results and great insights with. So I just want to get you back on here and talk.
Most definitely. I appreciate that. I loved our conversation, really flowed well. And I'd love to kind of get into this and really divulge some of the, myths and all these things that manifestation is and isn't. Because there's a lot out there. There's a lot of coaches out there. There's a lot of people out there that I feel as if throughout this whole, like, right during the pandemic and then onto that with TikTok and everything, manifestation has been this like hot topic,
Mhm.
and it's just been like blown up. Whereas there's just so much misinformation that comes from it because everyone wants to hop on it. And throughout my life experience and throughout what I've experienced with manifestation in a whole, I've really been able to dig into what works and what doesn't. For me personally, this is like my complete and total experience with everything. So that's where I'm at with everything in life, and things are working smoothly. And I'm really grateful to have like gotten to this point with manifestation and spirituality.
Yeah, yeah, and what really got me interested was I could tell your BS filter, like you have no BS, and I have a big BS filter. I used to think this whole manifestation thing was very much woo woo, right? And then I got into Tony Robbins, and that guy's a G, as you know. And starting to use some of these principles in life really is powerful. And once you see it in action and you like lean into it more, you see it coming back threefold. And but first things first, dude, one of the key ideas maybe a lot of people are familiar with already is the law of attraction. And immediately you were like, hey, law of attraction is not what you think it is. And then you started talking to me about the law of assumption and how much more powerful that is. Could you talk about the difference between those?
Right. So I really started out, as I think a lot of people did, with law of attraction, getting into law of attraction, all this shit, And then after after that, I realized law of assumption worked so much better, and it just cuts through a lot of the bullshit. And I'm not entirely sure if it's that law of attraction itself is bullshit. I think it's more that it's been so blown up and misconceived, and there's all these myths and things surrounding it, um, that there's a lot of misinformation with it. And this goes over law of attraction versus law of assumption.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure that I have this. I can even send this to you as well, just to I may have sent it to you before, but this, so we can really, like, understand what each one is. Even though I don't really subscribe to law of attraction, I say if there's someone out there, people who have success with law of attraction, power to them. I don't subscribe to it. I don't really agree with it. Law of attraction, it says here, law of attraction is the concept based on the belief that positive thoughts bring positive experiences, negative thoughts bring negative experiences. And there is some truth to that. That obviously makes sense. What you filter in uh, day-to-day basis is what you're going to start internalizing with your subconscious,
Hmm.
as well as um, what you start to believe. Because your subconscious, you have about 70,000 thoughts a day. Most of those are in your subconscious. You don't know what's going on, but you do know what's going on. And the way you do know what's going on is by the way you feel. So if you're walking around throughout the whole day and you don't feel good about yourself, you don't feel good about the things in life, aspects in life, well, most likely there's negative thoughts and beliefs that are in the subconscious that you don't actually have like a physical thought about, like a mental thought about. It's not like, I'm not worthy of X. It's just in your brain, in your subconscious, deep down, that you don't really know. And the way to know if that is the case is really by, sitting with yourself, journaling. You can target where bring out where you've gotten these concepts from or these belief systems from. So, as opposed to law of assumption that states that Law of assumption is a concept that involves manifesting what you want by believing that you already have it. Law of attraction is based on the concept that like attracts like, which has some truth to it, but we'll get into it. Law of assumption is based on assumptions. So what you assume on day-to-day basis about yourself, about things in relation in yourself, based on, you in relation to the things that you desire or things that maybe you don't like. And one thing that really piques a lot of people's interest that I have with clients that I've been trying to get a better understanding for myself, because working with clients, it's been like, oh wow, like, okay, I'm able to understand this even better for myself. With law of attraction, it states that free will exists. With law of assumption, free will does not exist, which is pretty huge for some people. That's kind of the basics, and that you, with law of assumption, you create your own reality. That the universe, what I believe in with law of assumption, a lot of people do say with law of assumption that there is no universe, that you just create your reality. What I believe is almost a mix. I don't believe that the universe cares about if you're manifesting in positive shit or negative shit. I believe that the universe is like, well, you have these internal thoughts and beliefs about yourself, and they're not changing. So we're just going to give you more of that because that's what you're persisting in. It doesn't care if it's negative or positive. It's not like, okay, Mateo can have like 50K today. Jordan can't. There's nothing like going, oh, you can have this, you can have that. I believe that it's really creating that reality. What you assume to happen for yourself internally is then what you experience externally, because your thoughts create your beliefs and feelings.
That's very true. I think if we're getting into free will and determinism, the way I found it to work in my mind, and it's the way I can reconcile with deja vus actually, is I believe deja vus are like, have you ever played connect the dots? Like you just like draw, like you connect the dots, you don't see it at first, and then you connect all the dots, and then you see an image, right?
Sure. You're talking about like a legitimate like paper with dots, not a metaphor, right?
Correct, but it's going to be a metaphor soon. So basically, I think that there are like predetermined like points of life you're supposed to hit. You're supposed to meet that girl. You're supposed to move to that new city. You're supposed to get that job. Like certain like milestones, let's call them dots. Those are predetermined by the universe, I believe. And it's also magnetic. Like you have to hit them. Boom, boom, boom. But I believe the free will comes in between the dots, like how you get there. It might take you a week. It might take you a year. It might take you 2 months. You might like go with one girl for a while and then you eventually hit that other girl, right? Like I think that's the way it makes sense to me. And the way deja vus come in is when you're on the right track, you're hitting your dots. That's when you're like, oh, I was here. This is like meant to be. And I think it's because of what you're saying. Because at the end of the day, the neurons in your brain and the photons that enter your eyes, like everything is just a vibration, whether they're light waves or sound waves or even like your thoughts, like electrical waves. Everything is vibrational. And when you're operating on a thing that makes sense and you're in flow state and you're operating on a plane up here, your life is going to have to match that. And then you start vibing literally with people on the same journey, and you yourself are on a journey with yourself. So you start hitting those milestones. That's what I think is like a blend of the two.
That's a really good way to look at it. That there is points, and I definitely agree with that, because I look at things. Something I just thought of, just it's more private, so I wouldn't share it on here. But something I just realized, that I had this very large trauma that had happened to me throughout my whole entire life, and then I was like, why the fuck is this happening? Why is this happening? And even in Arlen's course, he's like, you need to find things and need to find the reason, a good reason why this is happening. And it finally connected for me. It finally connected to the reason why this happened. It wasn't to torture me. It wasn't to make me feel like horrible about myself. It wasn't to do any of that. It was to lead me up to where I am today. And because I've gotten to where I am today, actually, it led me to this whole entire uh, client coaching and with manifestation law of assumption.
Nice.
That's how I believe like there was a reason for this whole thing to happen. And now that it has brought me up to this point, there's no longer a need for this energy or this concept of self to be attached to me anymore.
Nice. You like graduated from it.
Right.
So how'd you get into manifestation? How long have you been familiar with it?
So I always kind of knew about manifestation. I knew it was a thing. Um, Throughout high school, I learned about it here and there, whatever. But I really started to like intentionally do it. And one thing that I do want to make clear is you cannot not manifest. I've heard recently, and absolutely no disrespect to anyone, but you cannot not manifest. You're always manifesting ever since you were born, and what's the word? Ever since you were creating concepts about yourself in relation to people, um, and learning about life and things from your parents, like sort of ideologies and principles. Ever since you were able to grasp any sort of concept at any level, you are
Mhm.
manifesting. There's not,
Right.
I mean, no disrespect to anyone, but I recently spoke to someone and then they were like, I was like, oh, like, are you into manifestation at all? Because we were talking about something similar. And the person just said, I don't do that. And I just laugh because it's like, that's the equivalent of saying you don't breathe.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, every thought you have, every action you take is a vote. It's a you're manifesting who you're becoming. You're voting, and that's why habits are so important. You are some of your choices. Everyone's a collection of their choices, and that is a manifestation of who you want to be slash who you already are, basically.
Mhm. I completely agree with that. Although I do want to note, if you have one random thought, and this is kind of getting it's a little bit about it, misconception. If you have one random thought that's negative, it's not going to manifest. It is the dominant thoughts that you are programming. Because look at this, I could say, uh, there is a pink elephant standing right next to me. There's not a fucking pink elephant standing right next to me. Like one single thought is not going to manifest. It's what constantly is going filtering in that you have on a day-to-day basis and filtering in the subconscious. So getting back to that kind of question, yeah, how I really started to know that I was manifesting, know that I was consciously manifesting and that I could control it
Mhm.
was, I think, like how most people go about like getting into manifestation. It was right before, like I was in high school. It was right before the school shut down, and my friend and I were just writing down as a joke our ideal partners, whatever. Like because we're like, oh, like
Yeah.
I want to manifest a relationship, as many people kind of do, and so we wrote down like ideal partners, whatever, and then I forgot about it. 4 months later, I'm into guys. So like 4 months later, this guy came into my reality. I didn't do anything outside of myself. I did not like go outside and like find this person. No, exactly what I'd written on the paper, exactly what I had envisioned, right? So that happened. I dated this guy for a bit. But what I didn't realize at the time is that my inner core belief system was opposing that in my life.
Mm.
So it my but so it just manifested the fuck out. I rejected it. It's basically self-sabotage that it touches on self-sabotage
Yes.
in a
Yes.
manifesting, like on a, how would I say that? Like you can self-sabotage the thoughts in your brain will like, and the manifestation of the current states that you're in will then draw you to like do certain things. So if you have a inner core belief system that says yes, like I can be in a loving, healthy relationship, you're not going to do things that are going to outside of yourself to self sabotage whatever you've just brought in. But if there's a
Right.
negative correlation, or it is opposing to the subconscious belief system that you have programmed in from, I don't know if it's parents or caregiver situation or circumstance that happened when you were a child, whatever it is ingrained into your brain, you're going to manifest it the fuck out. But I didn't know that at the time.
Yeah. No, that's true. Especially when it comes to other human beings and partners in particular. The best and most efficient way to like attract the right partner is to become the right partner and become those things because it's magnetic. And you get to see it in other people. Those qualities you're looking for. If you become those qualities, loyal, respectful, or any things that really value to you are valuable to you, you'll see that in another person. That person will see it in you, and it'll be more natural. Um, that
Most,
is a very key distinction there. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's valid, because also, why would you want to be with someone who isn't, if you're not loyal or you're not a decent person, why would you want to? I don't think those people would really match well together, unless there's some sort of like bond in the sense that they need to learn some sort of lesson. I don't really know, not to get into that, but
Yeah.
yeah, like that's kind of where I was at. I was like, what do I need to do inside of myself? And so
Yeah.
now, like, going into kind of currently past June, as I was continuing on with like my life journey and learning about manifestation, learning about uh, just leveling up really, and taking
Mm.
the time to like work on myself, I manifested, and this is when this all really hit me. This is all when I was like, what the fuck? So I was at the supermarket after I'd gone to the gym, and I was grabbing something to eat because I get really hungry after the gym. I don't know about you. Like, I get
Yeah.
really,
Same.
yeah. So I was grabbing something to eat, and I saw, I don't know if you've ever heard of Levon Bakery, these like cookies.
No.
Okay. So they're like these famous cookies, biscuits, right? And I never tried one before. One, because I don't really eat sweets, and two, because I have a gluten allergy. And I really wanted to try one. And they were at the package, like they were just like the frozen ones, I guess they have in the bake shop. And I was like, I really want to try one. And then I came home from the supermarket. My mom had said to me, "Oh, by the way, can you like stay in tonight? My friend is coming from the city, and she really wants to see you. Like, you haven't seen her in a while. Do you mind just like please like staying?" And it's like, okay, like that's fine. Like, I have to go out, but I can stay for like an hour. So she came maybe like 3 or 4 hours later. And would you like to know what the fuck she brought with her?
Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh.
And it was like the gluten-free version. It was the exact, and I'll send you pictures that you can put up. It was the exact fucking cookie that I wanted, just like the gluten-free one from the bakery. It wasn't from the supermarket. It was just like from the bakery. And then that's when it really hit me. And I didn't share it with them because I didn't really understand what was going on with myself anyway. At first, I thought it was kind of a coincidence. And then I was like, that's a really weird
That's
coincidence.
freaky.
That's too big. So then I realized, like, wait, I have some sort of like power within me. Like, how do I channel this? How do I use this to my advantage? This is really fucking cool. And I did it the next day. I actually went to the supermarket and got these strawberries, and they were like really bad strawberries. I did not like them at all. They were fucking horrible. And so I said to myself, I just really want fresh strawberries, like fresh picked strawberries.
Okay.
The next morning I woke up. Do you want to know what the fuck was on the counter?
Yeah, fresh strawberries.
Yeah. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? I looked in my phone. I'm like, did I like send a voice message accidentally to someone? Was I recording myself? I didn't even speak these things out loud. These were just simply thoughts. I'm like, I couldn't have fucking like sent this to someone. How the fuck is this? Like, what? So,
Yeah.
I clearly have something here. So I started researching more, and I really started thinking, like, then what about the things that I'm looking to desire? If I have this ability, if I have this power, what about the things that, I'm like really looking to like bring into my life, that I think about on a day-to-day basis, but there's some sort of like belief system that's in the way? What do I do about that? That's where I was at. So I went ahead and spoke to this. I just like saw this girl on I think it was TikTok, and like absolutely no disrespect to her, but I'd asked her this question because she had some sort of like manifestation account, and this is when I really didn't know much about manifestation. And she had said to me, "Well, you didn't give a fuck about the cookie. You didn't give a fuck about the strawberries. You have to match that energy. You can't care about these things." And then that's when I took that in and was like, that doesn't really make sense. Like, it wouldn't be a desire if I didn't fucking care about it.
Yeah. What's up?
So like we just ended the call because I couldn't hear you, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
What's up?
Right as I ended the call, the smoke alarms went off for some reason. And I feel like that just happened because like the call ended. So like I don't know, maybe like it wouldn't interrupt, like the smoke alarm like wouldn't like
Oh, that's
interrupt it.
funny.
Isn't that so fucking weird? Like
That's
as
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck? So I just think of things like I look at like synchronicities like that. I'm like,
That's a cool one. That's considerate for the audience. That's nice.
yeah, I was like, what? So
There's a thing you were talking about earlier in our last call about desire and how some people say that if you want something, you shouldn't desire it. I mean, I can understand maybe the language is off because girls, for instance, if you chase them super hard, like very aggro, you're gonna scare them off. I always relate them like cats, you know, and
right.
like many things are like that, dude. Like, I mean, certain things, if you just like say, like, you put your desire on your sleeve, that's not the way to like pull it towards you. But
Right.
what did you mean by you still want a bit of desire in there, right? Weren't you talking about desire?
So yeah, with desire, you can want something, but what's such a I find a misconception, I think it's more of law of attraction versus law of assumption. Maybe there's some more misconception with law of assumption as well. But with desire, you can desire it, but with law of assumption, you need to step into actually knowing it's yours and having it. Because
Mm,
I can let's take a phone, for example. I want this phone. I desire this phone, but I don't have a desperation for it. I don't, like it's not so much the desire. You don't need to drop the desire. It's dropping the desperation because I'm not like, where the fuck is this phone? Like I need my phone right now. I don't know where it is. You're
yeah.
dropping that. That's what you're dropping. You're dropping the need to have it right now because if you need it right now, you're looking for something outside of you. And what I find with law of attraction, and this is just from my understanding, is what I found with law of attraction, you're still looking to change something outside of you. You're still kind of almost chasing in a way. I know it's about like aligning yourself vibrationally or whatever the fuck it is, but what I find with like law of attraction is you're still doing it to change something outside of you. And what I find with law of assumption, and this is where I was realizing when I looked back when I was thinking about the cookie and then what that girl said to me on TikTok, that girl on TikTok, she had,
Mm,
given me some advice at the time, which I appreciated, but I can kind of see it's not really the most true. What I realized is I don't just want to manifest these things in. I want to know that I'm worthy of having this. Because why the fuck would you want to manifest something in if you don't know you're worthy of it? I want to, I want to have a secure attachment in a relationship. I want to wake up and I would think, wouldn't you want to wake up and know that the things that you have in your life are as, simple as like drinking a glass of water. Like you don't think like, oh, like, is this glass of water like poisonous? I mean, I don't know where you live, depending on where you live, but like, you're like, oh God, like, is this poisonous? Like, am I gonna like die from drinking this? Like you want to have a good, um, you know,
security.
security, that concept, good concept in relation to that. And I realized, I didn't just want to manifest the actual thing. I wanted to manifest feeling worthy of it. And then that's what I realized is that I need to change the relation in which I see myself to these desires. So I can still want the desire. I can still say, oh, yes, I do want this. Like, actually, I'll show something in this book that I wrote. Like, this book, like, I like this. If someone came up to me, if you said, can you ship this to me? I'd say, fuck no, I don't. Uh, get your own, like I can want the desire, but not it's not changing matter with matter. It's not going outside and like chasing a girl or a guy. It's not going out and like, oh fuck, I gotta do this and taking a desperate approach.
Yeah.
One thing with manifestation is I want to make this clear for like clients and anyone. It's not saying I want this, I'm going to have this, sitting on your ass and doing nothing. Just like one thing very clear, it's actually like going out and doing it, but taking these concepts internally. You go inside internally and know that it's already yours. You're not um chasing it,
Exactly.
and so what I wrote this today. It's not about getting something outside of you, it's about activating something from within you that you had all along.
Yeah, I like that.
So
That's
that what your question about the desire and like chasing girls or whatever, um that's a much more deep subject, and it's actually about um, disregarding and ignoring things that may be undesired in your current reality, and how
mm,
to actually like ignore that and I just don't accept it as your truth. And because you don't accept it as your truth, then your subconscious will be like, oh, okay, that's not an aspect that we, want in our life. So it rejects it, and you just don't. It's the reticular activating system starts filtering in things that you do want, and that's by like reoccurring thought patterns. So to like kind of go back onto what you were saying is, yeah, it's about not chasing outside of you. You can go inside of, and that's actually what I kind of talk about with clients and things, is it's about going internally and just knowing it's fucking yours and not needing the
Yeah.
validation outside of you. I no longer, this is how I actually um don't seek validation outside of myself, is because I know no one is separate from me. Everyone has to show a reflection um of my internal story, my internal thoughts. So it's great to hear validation. It's great to hear I'm doing well with things, but also I don't really care what people think about me, or what there are particular things. If there's like, something someone says like, oh, you could try this instead of that, like, and it's helpful advice, of course. But I no longer look for the external validation, because I know that the story that I hold internally reflects outside.
Yeah, reality is a mirror, and people are a congregation of reality into flesh and bone, and so it's just mirrors all around. That's true.
Right.
I'm so glad you mentioned the reticular activating system. That is some science there. Tony Robbins talks about, say you're looking for the salt, right? And you open up the drawer and you're like, honey, where's the salt? And like, they're like, it's right there. It's right in front of you. Like, I don't see it. I don't see it. You have like built-in like blind spots. You don't see things, but they'll come over and they're like, it's right here. What's this?
Right.
The flip side of that, it's say like you are finally have the funds to buy yourself a house. You're into real estate finally. Like you're like, okay, I'm gonna buy a house. And then you go to the coffee shop later that week, and usually that's where you work, and you just hear like mumbling. You don't know what people are saying, but for some reason you can hear like 8 tables down some guy mention some real estate deal, and you can that it's very low decibel, but it cuts through everything, and you like hear it, and you're like, what? And you go over there and like jump on the opportunity. The reticular activating system, it just cuts through all the BS, and you can actually show things like when you're not pregnant, right? And you finally get pregnant, you start noticing all these pregnant people everywhere, whereas you didn't before. It's that acute attention that it's not that it was separate from you, it's just that you didn't notice it until you became it, you know?
Exactly. And with changing your inner core belief system, if you don't change it, if there's an aspect of your life that that you don't desire, that it's not a positive situation for you, if you don't change that, then you're not going to be able to see these good things, the things that you want in life. So
Yeah.
there's all this fucking evidence. There could be all this fucking evidence here, right? That people love you, people, whatever your story that you're looking to bring in is, there could be all this evidence outside of you, but you don't see it because your self-internal belief system is opposing. So you're gonna reject it. There's the conscious mind is going to be like, nope, that's not our story. So that's
dude. Zach, you just reminded me of this story. During 2020, I took a DNA test and I found out that I'm 40% Native American, like from South America and North America, right? Like a lot. And so I started eating up Americana folklore and stories and stuff.
Right.
And one of the things that I learned is, you've heard of like the rain dancers, like the rain dance people, like rainmakers, whatever, for good agricultural seasons. They asked an elder, a native elder, they're like, how do you do the rain dance? Like, do you ask for rain? And the guy's like, no. Rather than asking for the rain, what I do, because if I ask for something I don't have, that is communicating that I don't have it.
Exactly. That is actually exactly assumption. Yep.
Yeah, and that's the power of law of assumption. He's like, if I ask for something, it's gonna actually drive it away because it's emphasizing the lack of. And so what he does, he's like, what do? I close my eyes, I smell the rain, I feel the rain on my skin, like I can feel like the mud beneath me getting wet, and like I feel it between my toes. Like I feel everything that it's raining. I assume basically it's raining. And the universe doesn't like that dissonance. And so it's gonna immediately or like very soon start bringing in what you created, basically that reality you created. It doesn't like the mismatch, and it's going to start bringing it to you. And that is a powerful mindset that you can just bulldoze through life with that tool and just create reality, literally, which is so powerful.
I love that. That is exactly, yep, that sums it up amazingly, Matteo. That's exactly it. It's a law of assumption. That's an amazing piece, because when you were speaking about the rain, right, and feeling it and believing it, right? Now, one thing I want to kind of mention as well with that is, one thing I like to mention as well is, you do not have to believe it in order to manifest it. It's more sustaining it. You need to believe it to sustain it.
Like believe it down here rather than up here, or what?
Just have the inner knowing. Like, I'm trying to think how I can explain that. I have this ring or this phone. I don't, I'm like, I'm not constantly saying, "Oh, I believe I have the phone. I have my phone. I have my ring." Like, I'm not always like, "Oh, I have it. I have it. I have it." It's
like a given. It's like yeah.
Yeah, you wake up like, this is an amazing example. This is actually not my example, but this is an amazing example. You wake up every day and or you go to sleep every night and you just have this knowing that you'll wake up tomorrow. That's not necessarily true, but we wake up each day until we die. So it's kind of having this inner belief. And if you have an opposing story internally that goes against the belief system, that's when it will manifest out. That's when most likely it will manifest out. So if you do have that, that's when you do the reprogramming.
Gotcha. How do you know if you have an inner core belief that goes against what you want?
Right. So that's an amazing question. Thank you for asking that. That's a great topic to get into. By patterns in your life, this is actually when you do want to look back in your life and think, is there a time when I've gone outside of myself, or went to if like approach a girl or a guy, or I've gone to do something in particular, and the result of that has always landed me in the same position, not with myself, not with them necessarily, although that is an aspect, but with myself. Has it landed me in the position with myself where I don't feel worthy, I don't feel loved or chosen, or whatever the story might be? As well as triggers. If you don't know if there's necessarily a limiting story behind it, do you feel triggered? Never mind, I'm not going to share that because that's in client, so I'm not going to share that. But I do have an example I can give. I'll just change the name. I have a friend. I don't know, fucking
Mikey.
Alex, Mikey, whatever, sure. And so this person had gone to visit someone, and I guess like the result wasn't how they liked it, or like, I don't exactly know the complete story about it, but they're kind of hyping up this trip that they're going on, and the trip did not go well, I guess, for them. And this person ended up, Alex started spiraling and creating this, attaching the old story to this current scenario. So doing that, you're just bringing yourself the fuck back to the old scenario. So that's how you can identify a trigger, because it has nothing to do about a situation outside of you. It has nothing to do if someone rejects you. It has nothing to do with if some situation doesn't work out for you. And by the way, you can change that too, which that's a completely different topic. Well, it's everything's connected, but yeah. But it's I realize as well, like, I need to take control over my emotions, and I need to take control over my actions, really, and realize that I am responsible. There's no one else responsible for making me happy and making me feel whole. That's how I really realized. I said to myself, like, I don't just want to manifest these things in. As I said earlier, I don't want to just manifest these things in. I want to know that I'm worthy of it. That you should not have to look outside of yourself and be like, oh, please, like, come in and like validate me. Please come in and like, choose me so I know that I'm worthy of all this. That is that is giving someone way too much fucking power. If you do that, you're giving someone way too much fucking power. Absolutely not. So that's what it is with law of assumption. I find that law of attraction, I feel like it's still, while you're still trying to like match the frequency or vibration, you're still doing something outside of you. And I realize the internal, to change those triggers, you have to look for those triggers and change those triggers so that they match the internal story, so the triggers are no longer there, and you create a new perspective and new outlook in relation to these things.
That makes sense.
Yeah, looking for those triggers.
Yeah. Because like, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to mention, like Cristiano Ronaldo, if someone went up to him and said, "You are shit at football," he's going to laugh in their face because he clearly knows he's not.
Yeah. Except he is shit at I'm just kidding.
I don't know.
I'm kidding. I'm just kidding.
He knows he's
exactly. It's ridiculous. Why even entertain it? Yeah.
Yeah. Or even like, I don't know, Kylie Jenner, for example, she's a fucking billionaire. If someone went up to her and said she's broke, or she had an internal thought saying that she's broke, she would probably be like,
nah, you
okay.
brokey. Yeah. Yeah. The law of attraction, whether subconsciously or not, you're putting whatever you want to attract on a pedestal, rather than law of assumption. You're on a level playing field. Not only that, you're on the same vibrational plane. It's already yours. It's your world, right? And so it can only be pulled towards you. And also you're being pulled towards it. It's magnetic.
Exactly. Yeah, I love that rain scenario that you were talking about. That sums it up amazingly.
So one of the things you had mentioned is with the law of assumption is it's assuming there's no free will to a point, right? How do you reconcile that? And then also, what if two people want the same thing? Is that going to be mutually exclusive?
Right. So absolutely amazing questions. Those are big things to kind of consider, and kind of like a mind fuck, because it was really a bit of a mind fuck for myself, and I'm still wrapping my head around it. I'm like, how is that possible? But I really can see, I've had so much proof in my reality that no one fucking has free will. One thing I'd like to mention to start off is that everything you're manifesting in requires people. You want a successful business, that requires people to pay you. You want a successful relationship, that requires someone to conform to committing to you or being in a relationship with you. Everything requires people outside of you, no matter what it is. If it's someone, I don't know, everything outside of you requires someone to do something. So how I justify that, how I wrap my head around it, is I think of it as some sort of performance. So if you think back just as how you call, like a metaphor, or is that the right word? It's, think about yourself, like, say you were trying out for a play or performance in your high school, when you're in high school, and for some reason you don't fucking know why, you don't question it, you get first pick, you get to choose who you want to be. So do you want to be the fucking loser who doesn't get any girls or guys, and I don't know, just doesn't win at life? Or
No.
Or do you want to be the fucking winner who gets the girls and guys, gets a successful life that you dreamt of, and wins? It's choosing that. Yeah, it's choosing that. I don't really question why. It's really just, I know really why. It's the internal systeming, the internal processing that's inside of here, the dominant story that you're telling yourself, the dominant thoughts that you're telling yourself. I don't question why. And to answer your other question is, what if two people want the same thing? Well, let me ask you this. Have you skied before?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So when you're skiing, what would you say would happen? I've never gone skiing, but I'd like to at some point. What would you say would happen if you started saying to yourself, don't look at the trees, don't knock into the trees, don't go into the trees?
I'm going to eat shit against the tree.
Yeah. So what do you think happens when you focus on someone else's reality? I also give the same story example. The explanation for this is, say there's some school spelling bee, just going back to the high school concept or whatever. Say there's a school spelling bee or some sort of interview or some sort of position, whatever it is, and you're questioning, oh fuck, like, what if the other person's studying harder than I am? What if they win? What if they win? What if they're doing amazing at this and I suck?
Yeah.
You're focusing on their story, and the story in your mind wins.
100%.
So if you're not focusing on yourself, and that's why I think it's really important to focus in on and not give a flying fuck about what other people think. Really, like, don't give a flying fuck about what other people think, and persist when you have, if it's family members, we both are taking this entrepreneurial path. It's family members that don't agree. It's the same thing. The story in your mind wins. So you don't pay attention. You ignore that, and you don't pay attention to what other people say, because they're just a reflection to you. And you can't control 70,000 thoughts. So there may have been a few thoughts in your brain that were doubting, and then that has to reflect back to you in your reality. So if your Aunt Susie says to you, I don't think this is going to work out for you, maybe you had a limiting thought that said that internally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Auntie can't hang.
No, she doesn't get to go in the G5. Sorry.
To Madrid, dude. To Madrid, yep. When we make it back. Mm-hmm. Dude, there's a road in Nevada. I think it's just outside Vegas, where it's just desert, and it's just a road, and every like quarter mile or something, there's like a light post, right? So it's really hard to like crash, because even if you go off road, it's flat, it's dry, you'll be fine. It's not sand, but nothing grows there. It's flat. But can you imagine this? There's so many car crashes against those light posts, even though it's just like one little light post every like quarter mile. That's the only, like, so these drivers are like focusing, don't hit the light post, don't hit the light post, and they slam into the light post. It's much harder to hit the light post. There's nothing around you, but if you focus on it, you're subconsciously attracting yourself towards it, and it towards you. So careful with what you think.
That's exactly it. You could, you be in a ocean and be like, oh, I don't want to run into a shark. Well,
oh my gosh, dude.
You know what I'm saying? Like, just you gotta be really aware of your thoughts.
I used to live in Kailua, like on Oahu, the island of Oahu on the east shore. And there's this island literally a quarter mile offshore, and I was just staring at it. And I have this bad habit. I don't know if it's a bad habit. I like it, but I get this like mental itch, and it usually with physical endeavors, where I can't enjoy myself until I scratch that itch. So as soon as we moved to the island, I was like, how far do you think that is? And they were like, oh, that's a quarter mile. I was like, okay, I'm going to go there. And they're like, you're an idiot. I'm like, why? There's like, because there's sharks here. There's just like a shark attack like a few months ago. And literally immediately I was just like, no, that wasn't a shark. Like, I just twisted the reality in my mind. That wasn't a shark. That must have been some, I don't know, some fish. I don't know. We're fine. But I found another kid who lived on North Shore. He was on North Shore, and we both swam to the island and back, and it was fine because I just literally didn't care. I wouldn't worry. Also, I'm childless, whatever. Like, I can take the risk, whatever. But like, it would do me zero good to just be like, oh, there's a shark here. There's a shark here. There's a shark here. Like, that does you zero service, you know?
Exactly. I completely agree. That is a great point, because I don't know if you've read the book, The Mountain Is You.
No.
I just finished it, and one of the last things she says is that something about fear will not protect you. So focusing on something, fearing something, that does not protect you any more than not worrying about it. Mm-hmm. And that's the same, that's the same thing where it's, you don't worry about the shark. So even if there was a shark, who cares? Because
I'd be fucked. Like, what could I do? Yeah.
So yeah, that's a scary thing. Yeah, I almost have like a fear of the ocean, kind of. Like, I enjoy it, but I'm like, oh, I don't know. I don't like wearing, if I'm barefoot, I have to wear like shoes. I don't like to feel things on my feet.
Oh, so the beach is the problem then.
I like the beach. The concept of it appeals to me, but I like the ocean too. Mm-hmm. I don't like not being able to see what's underneath, and I get really concerned that I'll step on a shell or something like that, because that did happen. Yeah. Oh, this is actually a great example. So I can, if I wanted to, I don't really care too much about it, but I stepped on a shell or something and cut my toe open when I was like really young, and ever since I've been really afraid to go in the water without like any sort of like footwear.
Yeah.
But I could, if I wanted to, that's an example. I'm looking back at a previous scenario and taking that into my truth today. That's what you don't want to do, and you want to catch yourself. So I just caught myself there.
Nice. So that's a one from a while ago. When have you applied law of assumption recently in your life, though?
Yeah. So recently, this is crazy. So um, recently I applied all this. I mean, I apply this every day. This is something. It's not like that's one thing I want to make clear. It's not like, oh, let me like do this, and then once I get everything I want, I'll stop. No, it's you have. This is something you internally change yourself. It's changing your complete and entire identity. But how I've applied it in some scenarios recently, about 4 weeks ago, I want to say 5 weeks ago, I was, kind of feeling a bit down, and I was like, "Oh, I don't know what the fuck I want to do in terms of like entrepreneurship or like what to start. I want to start something of my own. I was looking into going into e-commerce, but I also wanted something of my own. Like I want it to be like branded by me. I want to be able to create like an experience and feel like purposeful. Because personally, I feel as if I were to just sell a product, it would be like, okay, I'm selling a product that's great, but I also want it to be like impacting people and I can really help people and create something I own. So
Right.
I realized I was getting to that negative thought pattern, negative loop. And then I said to myself, oh, never, no, actually, I already know what I want to do. I already have the answer. I assume that I already have the answer. And then, like, I want to say, like, 5 days later, he's giving me permission to like talk about him. 5 minutes later, one of my clients now, Elliot, he reached out to me. He's like the reason why I actually started all of this. He reached out to me because I posted like a win on the Discord for Tribe, and I was like, oh, like, huge win. I've really like mastered and been able to work on not looking for external validation and knowing that I am worthy now, not in 10 seconds, not in 10 minutes, not in 10 hours, not in 10 years. Like I am fucking worthy now. I don't need to look outside to see that proof. And so
Yeah.
he had we can put it into, I'll send it to you. So he had messaged me and he had said, like, can you help me with this? I'd really, if you have any advice, like, what can you, share with me? And I told him, you need to stop looking for external validation and seek that in yourself. I said something like that, that you need to seek. I can actually see what I'd said with him. Yeah, he said, hey, bro, just saw your win. Keep it up. Got any tips to realize the same thing? And then I said, stop looking for external validation. You need to change the relationship with yourself and no one else. So we continued on talking and then realized this is a lot to go into just over text. So we switched to Zoom, Zoom calls, Zoom meetings. And then now I've taken him on as a client and we've been doing this weekly. We have a weekly session where we go over all these topics. And he really was like this main kind of catalyst or realization that I was like, oh, why don't I do this? This is actually, this is crazy. He said to me, I mentioned to you, I think over Instagram, he said, I assumed that I'd been doing the coaching for much longer. He just assumed that I'd been doing it already. And that's, you want to know why that is?
Why?
Because I literally have been reprogramming, telling myself internally, I've been going in and telling myself that I've been doing coaching. It's been going very well. I've been changing the interview dialogue and the story to match my desired outcome in reality.
Yeah,
So,
you're natural at this, dude. You really are helping people. And the way you're well read, I don't know if you know this, you mentioned 4 books already. Like you're well read. You know about the stuff, you care about this stuff. Yeah.
I don't
And
even realize that. But okay, cool. Yeah.
yeah, like you're really knowledgeable. And more than anything, people want to connect, especially when doing business. Like I wanted you to plug your website also in your offer, but especially when you're doing business, man, like you want to work with people who are passionate about what they do. And if I'm someone who needs help with law of assumption, bringing things like creating my reality, I would search for someone who's just like you and is passionate, has a similar story maybe, and is knowledgeable and cares about what they're saying. So, dude, I was shocked you didn't have a coaching offer already when we first
Thank
talked,
you.
dude.
I appreciate that a lot. Yeah. It's just
Yeah.
something I started, and that's just crazy to think that I already had that answer. Like I didn't, that's a proof, that's a example. I didn't look outside of me. I didn't say, oh God, what the fuck am I gonna do? Like, oh, I have to find something. I have to go on the computer and see, okay, what can I do about this? No, I actually already had the answers internally. It's about looking
Yeah.
internal. Stop seeking outside. And that's also one thing we will touch. Like, you know, if you choose to work with me, that's one thing we will touch is reacting and going outside and chasing versus going internal and receiving and knowing it's yours. So that's when you talk about the girls and chasing a girl. I've had times when maybe there hasn't been contact with a particular person, and I've just gone internally and said, oh, cool, they already texted me. They already reached out. You want to know what the fuck happened? They already fucking did. So,
Yeah.
they already.
Yeah. Dude, the whole dating apps thing is strange for me. I haven't been single since the Obama administration, and I've just been treating it like I am fine. Like I'm good on it. I am not in monk mode. I'm not shutting myself off socially. I'm still talking to people, right? Being out there. Like I'm an extrovert. Like I didn't know what the word was. I always said energy vampire, but that sounds negative. But like I love being around people. It fills up my battery. So I've been doing that. But with the filter, with the frame of mind that I don't need validation, I guess. Like I don't need this. I'm not looking for a relationship. I'm not. I have stuff to do. I have certain goals and numbers I want to hit. And if something happens, something happens. But like I don't need anything. And it's actually really curious, really funny because like that's magnetic. Like even if I don't want it to be, like I'm like, all right, hold on, I'm focused.
Right.
That's just the framework. People like can catch up, like pick that up. So it's interesting.
Yeah, it's the energy. There is an energy aspect to it, but it's not in the way that law of attraction or a lot of these misconceptions have like played it out to be. It's more of just relaxing. It's not like, I don't know, this like notebook. I'm not like, where the fuck is the notebook? I need this notebook right now. That's looking for something outside of you. That's giving your power away to something outside of you and being like, well, I'm not worthy without this notebook. I don't know what I'm worth without this notebook. It's going internally and knowing I do have this notebook. I already have this. Or if you even need to, I wouldn't recommend it. But even if you need to be like, I will have it someday. That's not really like preferred, but like, you know, knowing that like, oh, I will have this notebook one day.
Yeah.
It's not looking outside of you and being like, oh fuck, like I need this to validate me. I need this to come in and you know, show me that I'm worthy, because the amazing thing is it's just the reflection to you. So if you have an internal story looking outside and you're looking outside, that's what you don't want to do. You don't want to be checking outside of you to realize you're worthy, because it's only the internal story that's reflecting to you.
Yeah.
So by
you don't want to worry about it. Worrying does nothing. Te voy a decir algo en español que es una frase que dijo mi padre y lo repite mucho. Es no te preocupes, sino ocúpate.
sí, exactamente.
Sí.
Exactamente así, porque no sé, a veces conmigo estoy preocupando cosas que no es importante o lo que sea, y no tengo que pensar en una cosa que puedo controlar.
Sí.
I can control it. It's literally all of this is in my control, so I don't have to worry about it. I don't worry about it. It's only sinking in more if I worry about something.
Exactly.
To my subconscious, yeah.
Exactly. It's a great way to live. Also, it feels rewarding once you see it in action. Dude,
Right.
Zach, I really appreciate it, man. If people want to get in touch with you, have maybe questions, maybe work with you, how can they do that?
Right. Thank you so much. The website is up, building right now, so it's not available at the moment. But you can contact me through Instagram at Zac Asher Official, or you can email me at contact@ZacSerrano.com. You can email me there any questions, or you'd like to set up some sort of call for onboarding. I also do have, if you do send me just a DM on Instagram, I will send you a free little assessment that will be able to tell you what you might need to work on in your like inner core belief system. Nice. So there's all these things that we need to work on, like in general, if it's victim mentality or love, the concept of you in relation to your love life, or maybe it's money or something in that aspect. We all need to work on those things, but this quiz and this assessment will allow you to get a better understanding of what maybe needs a bit more attention. And also with that, it will provide you the steps to start implementing things, taking small action steps, not this huge thing, but taking small action steps.
Nice.
To do this, because you're not going to believe these things. That's the thing that people don't like say. They don't share this information when they're telling you to do this shit online. You're not going to believe the news story at first.
Right.
You're not going to believe it, but the subconscious doesn't know the difference. So you can tell your subconscious, it doesn't matter if you don't believe it. The subconscious knows the difference, the subconscious doesn't know the difference. So it doesn't matter if you don't believe it or not. It matters to believe it if you want to sustain it. That's where the believing comes in.
Yeah.
Where it matters. So you can contact me there. I'm always open for, my DMs are always open if you need to talk about something. If there's some particular questions you have, my DMs are always open as well. I also would like to share, Elliot had a great win, and he said to go ahead and share this with everyone on the podcast.
Let's go.
Let's see if I can find this.
We're all gonna make it. I love when everyone's winning.
Yeah, I love. And this, by the way, this is crazy. This was one or two sessions after, just 1 or 2 sessions after I worked with him, that he had worked with me. I'm not saying that's the result that everyone will get after 2 sessions, but I was blown away, really happy for him. So this is just an audio file.
I'm telling you, Zach, you're special. You really make a difference.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I love seeing that I make an impact, and I want to be able to provide this as a sustainable practice and not just a quick fix.
Yeah.
So this is what I could play it, or you can insert it too. No.
Ever since I was saying that women are attracted to me, they love me. How could they not be attracted? So yesterday at break, I went to break, and I went at a random place at a different time than usual. I just sat at a random place I know, sat down, was having dinner at the side in the sun. I clocked a attractive girl down there, and she was sort of wondering. And she came over and walked by, and I just sort of beamed at her like, "Oh, it's a lovely day, isn't it?" And she looked at me, smiled, and then said, "Yeah, it is, thank you. I hope you enjoy the moment." I said, "You too." And she wandered off, and I was like, she's going to go back in my head. I was confident that I knew it was going to happen. And 5 minutes later, I see her in my peripheral vision, and she's going to walk by and not come towards me.
Nice.
So as on the bench, I just gesture you want to come sit over, open gesture to her, and she shrugged and came over, and so we got chatting, and I just started talking to this completely random woman, really pretty girl who I would probably have missed if I had not have manifested her into my life. So I didn't ask for a number or anything, because I'm still new to it. Maybe I should have, but I was just like, what the? It was so honestly, I don't think people understand. I've never been able to do this with women, just talk to strangers, and it just happened like that. It was fantastic. So thank you again for.
Yeah,
let's go.
Fucking amazing. So I'm really happy with him. His results have been astronomical, insane. But if you are looking to work with me, that would be absolutely amazing. I'd love to help you out with making this be something that is sustainable, not the quick fix. You're not looking to change something outside of you to know you're worthy, to know that you're valuable, and able to be loved. It's changing the story inside of you, that you hold with yourself. So I do have a offer right now, and it is, I'm accepting 5 new clients at I have this offer right now. This price will never be available to the public. I'm offering this before pre-launch. We are launching this program, and I'm so excited to get into it. This is an offer that will go into everything, absolutely everything, such as I have here just the course right here. We go into, manifestation, law of assumption, just the generalization of it, kind of a life audit and your mental diet, what you're taking in on a day-to-day basis, such as like music, what you're listening to, what are you watching on a day-to-day basis. Then we identify the triggers and aspects that maybe you don't like in your life. And then we'll go into traumas and why that may have happened, and why you still believe it, and identifying that and the self-sabotage and catching it, cutting it out, and eliminating that from the subconscious inner belief system and reprogramming that story. And then we shift that identity reflection. We'll go into shifting your identity reflection. So you just don't see yourself as that way anymore. It's not a part of your identity. And then actually denying those aspects of the reality that may be manifesting currently and denying it so that doesn't reoccur and reoccur. And then we'll get into some fun things like actually like redesigning aspects of your life that you want instead, so you can get clear on that.
Beautiful, dude. What a program. That's awesome. And Elliot, I haven't met him yet, but he's jacked and he's a good guy, obviously, and he's getting success there. You got some other clients. I'm so excited to see the good you'll do, man. Thanks, Zach. Thank you. It's been great. Hopefully we see each other. I know you're in the East Coast too. We might see each other in the East Coast, or maybe see each other in Madrid. I know you're also trying to go there, right?
If not Madrid, vamos a ver si, no sé, podemos conectar en Madrid. Eso sería genial. Vale, muchas gracias por tenerme y eso fue un gran experiencia.
Nada, tío. Gracias a ti.
Vale, nos vemos, vale.
Hey, brother. Take it easy.
You too.